Hey, we got some juicy topics this week, gang. You thought foreclosures was a dead topic that your folks had to deal with, but we're bringing it back alive this week. And then secondly, what happens if you're trying to buy a house and the seller all of a sudden doesn't want to leave and starts squatting on the property? It's Ask Jesse Howe. Let's get into this.
San Diego. What's happening? Jesse Ibanez here. Home buyers, you got questions? Home sellers, you got questions too. Use them hashtags, gang. Get your frequently asked questions answered right here on the Ask Jesse Howe Show.
Fool me one time, shame on you. Fool me twice, can't put the blame on you.
What's happening, gang? So whenever this happens, right, we get into this room, the lights is on, Paola's back there staring at some weird screen. We hope it looks good. That must mean it's another exciting episode of Ask Jesse Howe, the game show where there's no points, right, Greg?
Yep.
You're not keeping track, right?
No.
And the people that win are the folks on the socials and the internets that write questions, and they hope that it's answered by some alien and through some satellite to get an answer from the Zillows and the Facebooks and all that stuff about your home buying and home selling questions. I don't know these questions before they get asked. We hope that that's actually of value. At least I hope anyway, that it's authentic and it helps move the needle on your home purchase or home sale. Let's get into this.
All right. First question comes from Elaine Keith. She wants to know, what is a foreclosure and how is it different from a normal house for sale?
Oh my God, grab the book, dude. Elaine, this is your lucky day because I'm not only the hair club president, I'm also the guy who wrote this book. Which, actually isn't even a perfect analogy, but here's the point. Foreclosures were a real big game, about a decade ago, right? The technical answer of what is a foreclosure is somebody who signed up for a loan amount and a payment in trading that money. They're trading the opportunity of actually living in a home that is worth more money than they could possibly afford to pay for in cash or strategically speaking. And for whatever reason, that agreement fell apart and they defaulted and they're no longer to keep up on their payments. And whatever mitigations the bank tried to do to get them to get some money to stay in the house failed, and the bank had to take it back. So they kick the owners out, they take back the property completely, and then they go, and the bank actually becomes the seller at that point, or the owner, I should say, and then they go and they sell the house. Now, for a buyer, it sounds like she might be a buyer, right? These can present good opportunities, but buyer beware, because there is a whole slew of different integrated complexities that get woven into those type of transactions, much like other loss mitigation deals like short sales and anything else outside of the standard stamped out, there's a seller, there's a buyer, two people want to buy. So I would recommend you get a copy of this book, which you could probably get on something that's over on the right here that you can click that kind of looks like this, and I'll actually give you one for free because you were playing Ask Jesse Howe.
All right, so the next one is from Durable 88 2013.
Okay,
Zillow
that was a
forums.
damn good year.
Yeah.
It was a very durable year.
Okay, his question, or her, is what happens now? The seller didn't move out.
Ooh, that's a nasty question, actually. I always love going back to the thought that to put these deals together, at the end of all this nonsense and this paperwork that could build up from here to the ceiling, you got to have a seller that wants to sell and you got to have a buyer that wants to buy, okay? And maybe both of those parties can start out with those intentions, but something capitulates along the way, leaving one person a little less off than the other one, meaning, in this case, a seller that sounds like, if we're going to make this inference off the small little snippet that we got, that they're squatting on their own home sale. This is a very crummy situation to be in for a buyer. So the first thing that you obviously want to try to do is, if it hasn't closed yet, did he say that?
No.
Okay, if it hasn't closed yet, obviously you don't want to close, right? Because you have an opportunity, of course, to sort of holding this the transaction hostage. If the seller doesn't want you to close, though, this can also almost backfire, because that's technically what they want to have happen. And then you get into a whole rabbit hole of culpability and the seller's assumed performance that happens as soon as they go and put their home on the market and they sign that contract. Whereas, conversely speaking, the buyer has all kinds of ways they can get out with all kinds of contingencies and whatnot. And so they're in a tough spot because you would hope that there's a reason why they haven't moved out. And if you can't negotiate around that reason, like, for example, something that does pop up from time to time here in San Diego is that sellers will be trying to buy another home. And even if they're just trying to rent a home, right? Not even really trying to do the whole buy thing. And they don't use the contingency that's actually built into place contractually called making it contingent on the seller finding that replacement property. And then something goes wrong with the replacement property and all of a sudden they squat, right? And we're actually dealing with something like this, similar to this, not quite exactly like this in a transaction right now, where the seller all of a sudden turned out to be super cantankerous. And they were trying to get the buyer to quit by not agreeing to any of the repair requests, which were totally reasonable, and then not doing the termite, which was almost assumed based on the buyer's financing. It was trying to give them strong-arm them for staying in the property. Like basically every possible thing you could do as a seller to try to blow the deal up. And our buyers are remaining resolute because they think it's a good deal. And so they're trying to work within the constructs of the contract still to make sure that the seller's performing based on what everybody agreed to, but then also massaging the two things that they still have in their power and control, which is the release of the contingency removals, giving the authorization of the buyer's earnest money deposit to be the property of the seller should the buyer not perform. And then secondly, they're going to wait to close escrow until they know that seller's got all their stuff out of there. So they're holding hostage the two power realms that they have. But at the end of the day, I'm an old school dude, man. I believe that there's a reason behind all this nonsense, and if you just cut out the static, you can get to the truth. You can figure out why that seller wants to squat. And if you can identify what that is, and you can still, usually you hope, if the spirit of good faith is still there, work out a resolution to make sure that you still buy the home you want to buy, and the seller still sells the home they intended to sell in the first place. If you can just get around whatever that epoch that's getting in the way in the meantime is. Yes?
Yes.
That was a long one. Let's just wrap that up with two. So let's do this, gang. Next questions are going to be yours. So go ahead and use the hashtag AskJesseHow or hashtag FirstTimeHomeBuyerFAQs, FirstTimeHomeBuyer, FirstTimeHomeSellerFAQ, whatever FAQs that you like. We'll be on the lookout for them, and we'll get your questions answered next week. Thanks for hanging out.